une réflexion sur l'enseignement hybride et combiné de la discipline de l'anglais dans l'enseignement supérieur algérien, paradigme, problématique et perspective. L'objectif de ce colloque consiste à mieux comprendre les principes du programme de l'enseignement de la discipline de l'anglais, ainsi que de mesurer la volonté des enseignants des disciplines à enseigner leur contenu en anglais dans les environnements d'apprentissage hybride en Algérie. Vos débats, vos réflexions, vos contributions et vos propositions, mesdames et messieurs les participants, vont certainement être de la plus grande utilité pour implémenter les projets nationaux et internationaux en relation avec les formations d'anglais. Je ne peux terminer mon allocution sans remercier vivement l'ensemble des organisateurs et organisatrices de ce colloque, à leur tête, Madame Labed et la directrice adjointe de la postgraduation, Madame Makouf. Sans oublier aussi nos partenaires qui sont l'École supérieure de génie électrique, l'INSIM, FAPS, IAPAP et le Hadid. Donc, je vous réitère mes vifs remerciements et souhaite plein succès aux travaux de cette rencontre internationale. Merci.
Merci, Monsieur le Directeur. Thank you so much. I would like now to invite Professor Khelfi to take the floor. Please, sir. Monsieur Khelfi est le directeur de l'école de technique supérieure.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear guest, dear colleague, dear student, Assalam. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the staff of the Higher School of Teachers Ahmed Amour of ORAN for inviting us to take place in the event. I have an immense privilege to be at the head of the ENS ORAN during the year 2017. I am glad today to be with you for attending the first International Blended Conference on Integrated Content and English Language Blended Instruction in Algeria, in Algerian higher education. It's a great honor for the Higher School of Electrical Engineering and Electrical and Energetic Engineering to collaborate with the ENS of ORAN for such an important event. On behalf of the Higher School of Electrical and Energetic Engineering and staff and students, I wish the event will be a great of success. All the best, and thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for speaking in English and having the introduction in English. And I forgot to mention that you were one of the heads of this school. Thank you so much, sir, for this kind reminder. So I would like also to invite Mr. Qara as the director of the Anthem, okay, to join us to tell us a few words about the conference. Welcome, sir.
Bismillah. Salam alaikum. À mon tour, je suis le directeur de l'INSIM, Institut international de management. Je vous souhaite bienvenue aux étrangers. Merci à tous les organisateurs, à leur tête le directeur et le professeur Aibeche. Nous sommes honorés d'être là et de participer à ce colloque, tout en espérant que ce colloque va être 2 journées d'apprentissage, de formation et beaucoup plus de réussite à nos jeunes et beaucoup plus de réussite aussi à nos enseignants et aux administrations. Nous, Anthem, nous sommes une école supérieure qui a été créée en 1994 à Alger. Depuis 2000, on est là sur le territoire national. On a 12 instituts au niveau national. On a Tizi Ouzou, Boumerdas, Ablida, Ranciti, Constantine, Hassim Saoud, Annaba, ici à Oran, un petit peu partout. On est dans le domaine tout ce qui est technologique, dans le domaine du management, dans le domaine des finances, des ressources humaines. Et toutes nos formations supérieures, ce qu'on appelle master et bachelor, on va les faire à partir de cette année. On va commencer cette année, à partir de l'année prochaine, ça va être en langue anglaise. Donc ça va être des formations beaucoup plus supérieures qui sont en partenariat avec des universités américaines, USA, des universités canadiennes, l'UQAM Canada et d'autres universités au niveau européen. Et donc, on va essayer avec tout le monde, avec toutes les universités qui sont ici, avec tout le ministère de l'enseignement supérieur et d'autres, de hausser un petit peu le niveau de nos jeunes, de telle sorte que l'Algérie, Inch'Allah, va être dans le futur au même niveau, si ce n'est un niveau un petit peu supérieur par rapport aux autres pays africains et même européens, Inch'Allah. Merci tout le monde, merci à tout le monde, merci à l'invitation, merci à professeur Labed, merci à notre cher directeur, à tous nos directeurs ici, de nous choisir et d'être parmi vous. Merci beaucoup et bon séjour.
Merci à vous, Monsieur Qara, d'avoir accepté de sponsoriser cet événement. Ainsi que les autres sponsors, je tiens aussi à les remercier. Cet événement n'aurait pas pu avoir lieu si ce n'est l'intervention des sponsors, qui sont un élément essentiel dans la vie actuelle pour faire avancer la recherche. Merci bien, monsieur. I would like now to assign the floor to Dr. Loulassi to tell us a brief, short biography about Ahmed Ammour. Ahmed Ammour is the name of our school, ENS school. So she is going to tell us about him, who was this hero of the Algerian Revolution, and why we have chosen to name the school after him. So, you are welcome, madam.
شكرا كثير. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين الذي كتب على نفسه نصر المجاهدين في سبيله وكان حقا علينا ذكر أفضال المناضلين وكتب الذلة على المعتدين ليبعثن عليهم إلى يوم القيامة من يسومهم سوء العذاب. الشهيد أحمد عمور رمز من رموز الكبرياء وعنوان الكرامة والبطولات، من المجاهدين الأشداء في خطوط المقاومة والمواجهة والتحدي، رجل كأحسن ما يكون من الرجال، شهيد المقصلة، مجاهد وقائد، ولد في أول مارس من سنة 1926 ميلادي بمدينة عين تيموشنت، تعلم في المدارس الفرنسية إلى مرحلة الثانوية، كان عضواً مشرفاً في الكشافة الإسلامية بمسقط رأسه. التحق إلى صفوف التجنيد في مدينة الناظور بالمغرب الأقصى، وهناك تدرب على فنون القتال ليعين من قادة الثورة فيتولى جبهة القتال بعين المكان. للشهيد أحمد عمور السبق في عمليات فدائية ضد المعمرين، واصل نشاطه العسكري مع رفاقه من جيش التحرير حيث استهدف العدو بخسائر روحية ومادية معتبرة، أسر على إثرها وسيق إلى سجن وهران، وهناك تم إعدامه بالمقصلة بتاريخ 14 فبراير سنة 1957 في عمر 30. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون، المجد والخلود لشهدائنا الأبرار في جزائر العزة والأحرار. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Thank you so much, madam, for paying a tribute to this hero of the Algerian Revolution. And of course, بلا الشهداء والمجاهدين اللي كنضربوا حنا ما راناش هنا. On n'aurait pas هاد المقاعد اللي رانا قاعدين فيهم وهاد Now, I would like to assign the floor to Professor Abed, to whom I would like to address. But I would like to address my deepest gratitude, recognition for organizing this huge event for our school, for this scientific meeting, making those people, those charming faces, to meet again for this scientific event. I would like to thank you, Professor, and I would like also to thank all the organizing committee. Okay, on behalf of the organizing committee, thank you so much for all the effort you have devoted during this year of a journey. And now, of course, we are here, alhamdulillah. Donc, أود أن أشكر الأستاذة العبد على المجهودات الجبارة اللي دارتها، ومن خلالها أود أن أشكر كذلك، سمحوا لي جو كود سويتش من دونك جو سي اون تران دو دونك من خلالها أود ثاني أشكر المدير والمدراء، طاقم المدراء لي سبونسور ثاني اللي سمحوا لنا باش نكونوا هنا في هذا اليوم، وكذلك المشاركين the participants. Thank you so much, and I know that your participation is going to add a value to this event, and we are going to know more about how we should deal with English in Algeria. So, Professor, the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm a little bit shy.
We are all.
Yeah. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is our privilege to welcome you to the 2023 International Blended Conference on Integrating Content and Language Blended Instruction in Algerian Higher Education, Paradigms, Issues, and Perspectives. We are delighted to have you as a diverse group of experts, scholars, professionals, and students gathered here to explore and exchange ideas, knowledge, and projects. Recently, the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research, supported by the President of the Republic, has opted for policies to promote the Algerian higher education visibility with the purpose of enhancing the national development. English language policy has been targeted given that English is the key to internationalization, scholarship recognition, and career opportunities. To reach this objective, professional development projects have been launched to better equip content teachers with English as a medium of instruction. Integrated content and language in higher education, or ICLHE project, for example, has been the fruit between the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research on one part, and on the other part, the University of Columbia Teachers College, New York. The objective of this conference is to understand ICLHE principles and examine its effectiveness. It also aims to discuss issues related to ICLHE implementation in the Algerian context and offer recommendations. This conference is the result of collaboration and teamwork. I would like to thank the academic and administrative staff of École Normale Supérieure d'Oran for continuous support and encouragement, particularly the ENS Director, Professor Djeloul Rahiel, for his support since we obtained the ministerial agreement in the last April. Special thanks go to the Vice Directors, Dr. Mokhtar Barrahal, Dr. Soumia Makouf, and Dr. Mohamed, without whom the conference wouldn't take place. My sincere appreciation and recognition also go to our co-organizer, ESGEE Director Professor Faycal Khelfi, and his Vice Director, Dr. Karim Benabaji, for their valuable contribution to the success of the international conference. Your dedication and collaboration have made this event truly exceptional. Our gratitude is addressed to our sponsors for their generous support in making our international guests' in-person participation a reality at the campus. The Director of International Management Institute, ANSIM, Monsieur Mohamed, your commitment to advancing knowledge and collaboration is truly appreciated. The manager of YAPAP, Mr. Yassine Sliman Bouasbana, your generous support has been instrumental in bringing this international conference to fruition. We should not forget to extend our gratitude to esteemed sponsors, FABS and Dar al-Kitab al-Hadith, for their significant role in making this event possible. A special acknowledgement goes to the hard-working scientific and organizing committee and all the participants who have contributed to making this event possible. I would, on the other hand, like to welcome our international and national guests and participants who have joined this scientific event. Over the next 2 days, we have a rich program ahead, featuring insightful keynote speakers, sharing valuable perspectives, engaging panel discussions, roundtables, and leading ample networking workshops. I encourage all of you to actively participate, share your experiences, and build connections. So let us make the most of this opportunity to learn and collaborate. I invite you all to get familiarized with the current conference structure by exploring the schedule and take advantage of the networking sessions Our goal is to create an inclusive and enriching environment for everyone of us. Thank you for being here, and we look forward to exciting discussions and discoveries that will unfold during this conference. Let us make it a memorable and successful event. Thank you for participating, and welcome to ICILH Algeria Conference.
Thank you so much, Professor. And now we declare officially the conference open. Welcome. Thank you so much. Donc, j'invite sans tarder, I invite the panelists to take place in
Ouais, il est déjà là-bas. Ah oui, ça y est. How are you doing?
Good.
You all right?
Fine.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, same here. Nice to see
When
you.
did you arrive?
Yesterday.
Oh, must be tired now.
A little.
A little?
Flying from Malaysia to Algeria.
see the bottom?
I don't see the bottom. It's just side here. I don't know. It's just a system. Okay. Let's see whether it's working first.
Ah.
Enhance system.
على ما تروحش شعلة مش باي شعلة. All right, so we'll start with one of our distinguished professors and the leading figures of the English departments in Algeria, Professor Mohamed Miliani, whose talk is entitled ALGEE towards a learning paradigm shift in higher education. Professor, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I think life has treated me nicely because I've had the pleasure then of being in maybe the most thriving sector, which is that of education. And I'm so lucky because you have in front of you the title then, which is really of concern, okay, ICLHE, because I was also, as some of you know, at the start of the LMD reform, okay. I had the honor then to be with a group of teachers then who have launched the LMD for foreign languages and not just English. And I think that gave me maybe the most interesting life then, though the moment was not proper. Algeria was living then certain difficulties. The second thing is that I think by the end of 2020, I had also the honor then of being in a pilot group interested then in ICLHE because we were also concerned about the training of teachers at the ministerial level. And I think the two collide, the two experiences collide in the sense that you see by the title, and what is of concern to me is really the LMD reform first. So many things have been said wrongly or rightly. Follow my eyes. So I would like then to start maybe with the ministerial note, which is maybe interesting then to go through it, because they said at the time in French, the reform is intended to be comprehensive in its design, participatory in its approach, progressive and integrative in its implementation. As you can guess then, we university teachers, we are really difficult to satisfy. And you can guess that we have not been happy with everything we've been doing, because I wrote in 2017 an article then with Insaniet, the CASC, where I thought that the main problem was a question of implementation, okay? And it's true, you cannot talk about a national kind of concern when at each different level, then you have the idiosyncrasies of the local. And unfortunately, that went against the system. Originally, then of course, whoops, it's my heart maybe, I don't know. The attainment then, for instance, was, it's the objective of the ministry then talking about international standards visibility ranking, well, deep in it, but let me tell you, keep that aside. I think we're out of the course. Okay, but there was one item in particular, which was then employability, which was not originally part of the demand. And then you have the gateways, les passerelles, you remember, not systematically done. The facilitation of students and teachers' mobility, very, very little. So you're not in the LMD, are you? Then you have the university governance. I participated with the ministry because the World Bank was interested then in the governance. Oh, that's all right. That's all right. Yeah, thank you, Riley. So the university governance marked rather nicely, except for autonomy. Okay, but of course, since we are a public sector, so you can imagine that everything which has to do with finance is not really something we can control. But academically speaking, we were. Then you have this kind of incongruity, which is the very low percentage of professional training. Okay, so we were still over 80% of the offers were academic, as if everybody will end up then going to university. Then, of course, the opening then towards the environment, very little. The academic structure, and it's true that, and this is the difficulty we had when we started. Okay, I would like to thank, by the way, Professor Al-Khadar, who was with me, going all the way throughout Algeria. And we were simply concerned about the specification of content, disciplinary content. We didn't say much about pedagogy. So what was then really dealing with pedagogy came later on. And then, of course, you have the some words which are dropped here and there, and one of them, it's something which has been a big issue, which were not. It's tutoring, le tutorat. Big deal, very little results. Now, of course, we have to then to speak about then the LMD assets and liabilities. So it was supposed then to go against the rigidity of training, but because of oversized classes, okay, we had only half measures, okay, because the job was not finished. We were also then supposed then to tackle a type of pedagogy which is andragogy, because you're not dealing with adolescents, but with maturer people. And that is why one of the key mottos of the ministry was then to learn differently, as if we did do it, okay? They did speak about active pedagogy, ICT, another big thing, but on the terrain, very little effect. Collaborative learning, formative assessment, interdisciplinary approaches to subject, promotion of autonomy, and once again, autonomy. So I go back then to another item which was of concern from the start. Okay, well, the committee I had the pleasure of working with, okay, we did speak about transdisciplinarity, multidisciplinarity, and of course the cross-disciplinary skills had then to be given then to our students. Just to give you, okay, well, this is just the peak of the iceberg, all right? To give you, in 2012, how many BA degrees were provided by the Algerian university? You have nearly 3,000 licenses, can you imagine? And something like 1,500 MAs, okay? Then they had to reduce it because at times the same concern, but with different content. Right, pedagogy. So as you can read, a persistent piecemeal pedagogy, which unfortunately then did not follow what we were supposed then to do, which is then to to help students learn differently. And because then the door was not really open to something systematic and systemic, then you had a plethora of techniques of teaching. Everybody then came with their own way of how students should learn. We did not insist too much then on the personal project, all right? The curriculum, once again, so everybody was concerned about the basic skills, and of course there was a lack of congruency between the level students came with from the lycées to the level we were looking for. Can I remind some people that in the early 90s, then we did ask students then to sit for an entry exam to read for English, right? Which is not the case anymore. The BA structure, so I'm not going then to go through that, but what is mentioned behind the title of each, it's, if for instance you speak about the core teaching unit, les fondamentales, okay, so then it has to be done in such a way to develop then linguistic skills. Then you okay, and one which was not paid attention to, which for me could allow every department then to serve a different meal to students, it's the cross-disciplinary teaching, i.e. the opening towards other departments, other faculties. Show me one which has not left the Department of English. Everybody is doing their own thing. So back again to what we were doing previously. So in that case, so what we find, and this is one of my conclusions, is that content has been then done at the expense of pedagogy. An overview then of the methodology from 2003 to today, so 20 years, and you have these three movements. First one, then I won't go then to the traditional pedagogy because, well, it's nearly repeated once again. So we have the communicative language teaching, we have the competency-based education, and of course, now we're opening the door to ICLHE. The problem is, the one in the middle, we did not pay attention to. At university level, once again, show me then something we did do with a competency-based education when in national education, kids were learning through that. Have in red, well, the main items we were supposed then to follow. But you do find here and there then a couple of things we were supposed then to do and which we are repeating, like for instance, authentic materials. Sorry. So I wanted then with this table, then by showing the parameters, okay, and spell them through time, okay, the communicative language teaching versus ICLHE. And I wanted then you then to have a look, an overall view of what we're supposed then to be doing without forgetting CBE, all right, competency-based education. And there are elements then, I'm afraid to say, which are missing from today's then syllabi. I wish to go back then to something which has in place, okay? In January this year, okay, the ministry has issued then an intention, a note, talking about a reform, okay? Maybe you heard already that, okay? But you can the LMD, a 4-year degree, all right? When we have not been, okay? Because can I remind people that because evaluate then the LMD, 2006, 1.5 years after the start. 2010, there was an audit, the ministry audit. Then 2016, okay? And each time we were then looking into the LMD system, no way did we come close to the LMD. And then we suddenly jumped then to another wagon. So be it. But what the, because it's a council which has been nominated by the ministry, they're talking then to going back to the traditional BA system, okay? And they say to draw up a comprehensive integrated study and on the feasibility of a flexible return to the classic BA system, replacing the LMD system. Easily said than done, okay? Of course, they did then raise criticism. We were okay, we would accept that no gateway was then proposed, or very little. Interdisciplinarity, lack of coherence then between the constitution of a training offer and the non-existence of internal and let alone external mobility. And my question, which I'm launching towards you, be imposed after years of teaching routines, because we're simply duplicating what we've been doing 100 years ago. Right, I'm going here also for discussion's sake, okay, try and parameters, okay, we need to go back maybe to competency-based education. We need then to emphasize then soft skills. Experiential learning, we're not doing that at all, okay? We're still staying with teacher-centered, student-centered. Are you sure we are really doing something which is student-centered? Okay? What I don't like, and this trend today, where everybody speaks about wake up early in the morning for that. Globalization. Okay, so we need to listen to what's happening. Friend and okay, and so I need to say bonjour. Inclusive education, integration of technology, not the gimmick of technology, but the technology per se. Really, when you cannot have a speed which should be the case, don't educational technology. Cross-disciplinary approaches, okay, something Professor Al-Khadabarka has been trying to impose on the system. Unfortunately, well, the mills are still there, so we're just fighting or trying then to go beyond, okay, the scientific disciplines, but no way you listen to. And one which is not least, it's lifelong learning, okay? I'm still learning at my age, so you see how young I am, and I'm still learning. Transition or not, then, from competency-based to CLHE. Of course, well, I know Annie likes then the first one, the level of applicability. So I'm trying then to oppose to ICLHE, and it's always the question, are we capable of simply applying? Okay, and you know how students then are, okay, when they feel that assessment is at the heart of the matter. Don't talk about content, but talk about evaluation. The ultimate goal, okay, what are they? Competencies, okay, so, and this is something the French have not solved. It's competence, and that's it, when the British have something else. Language development. I think people are developing language-wise. The language of students has developed a lot, but it's oral. Okay, the context, okay, and really it's not just the academic, okay, but we know that ICLHE then speaks to higher education in particular, when CBE was not, because, you know, that's happened in education. I go back to mastering then content and language. And this is something which maybe is something to be listened to, because that's the ILHC proposal. The progression, where do we start? Where would we end up? So it's something we need then to talk about if we speak of this transition. I'm not, maybe it's age, okay, a fan of ICLHE, because I say that there are promises, but there are also limitations. It's not magic wand, okay? If you touch the head of the student and he starts then using content and language. But I think this is a momentum, and that's why I really wanted to say something about it. It's an opening. At the same time, because when we started with Columbia University in 2020, okay, and my friend Professor Mohamed is here then to say it. Professor Aibeche, that something which is of importance, okay, it's maybe time to change our vision of pedagogy, spell it out, because something which the LMD has not done, it's really tell us how to teach, because we were more concerned about what to teach. Now, there could be principles, okay? Well, the first one, which is known, it's already in the title, it's that integration of language and content. Authentic materials we can't get rid of, because when you see the amount of information we get then through all sorts of digital means, okay? So we have then to take on board real life context. Language proficiency, it is developing, but we need to connect that to subject-specific knowledge. And that is, now we're not simply talking to language teachers, but we talk about those who are subject matter teachers who use English or any other language for that matter. Interactive and collaborative, I've learned the trick. Over the years, it's always then a team, okay? So you can talk about, but what is important is it's what you can do, okay, right on the field with a number of colleagues in what they say. And that is something which, unfortunately, the reform has not put, okay, as an additional ingredient. Cultural awareness, it would be stupid then to get rid of the other's cultures. When I see what's happening then to Gaza today and how language is working against the Palestinians and how it is manipulated in French, in English, and what have you. Assessment integration, we need then, of course, then to integrate. I would be against giving marks. I hate marks. Not as a student, but as a teacher. At times then I find it stupid then being like a shopkeeper, okay, 1 plus 10, and you have 9.99, but it's not a pass. Well, thank God I was not here then to when I studied, okay, my MAd and PhD, I was in a space where I was given letters, which was my mark, but I was happy with that. The ICLHE way, of course, collaboration, once again, is a must. And what the project with TC, Teachers College of New York, showed us, it's when you work close to the subject matter, teachers, let me tell you, It's wonderful. And I've seen PowerPoints, posters, which are better maybe that some language teachers might come up with. Okay, so something we need to then to listen to. So there are a couple of strategies here, okay, which I'm putting, but I'm not selling it, okay, by the way. So I'm not somebody who will do that. On the contrary, I'm rather interested always in limitations. So the complexity of assessment, the cultural and contextual conditions, okay? We have to know where we are and where the student is going to end up. Our know-how as teachers, of course, that ability then to provide support within the context, okay? Balanced preparedness, okay, where we give too much then for content and very little for language, okay? Language proficiency, we need then once again then to help students then get over their difficulties. The low level of applicability of some disciplines, okay? I don't know, maybe Professor Dabarka can headaches than to teach literature, than to teach corpus linguistics, okay? I don't know, maybe he can give us his sentiments. There are language demands which are high, but content, when it's over-specialized, then constitute a difficulty. Well, those who are hiding in the corner and constituting then the force of inertia to any reform, to any proposal, need also then to be addressed. The resources, okay? If you have no resources, don't go there. Start changing. Teacher training, of course, time limitation, okay? We need then to find always that equilibrium between content, learning, and language development. So I'm going to end up with this, okay? So you see I'm rather quick, I hope. And to start digging in this ICLHE, because I think that we need to impose blended learning, all right? We were lost, well, during COVID, okay? We were lost. I remember that I suffered as a teacher because I was simply content with sending my lecture, but no feedback, no human feedback. It's not content feedback, but just seeing my students would have been of good help. Global collaboration. We're not alone in this world. Okay, when I see that it's not always easy then to speak to people outside, okay, I wish maybe here to simply open up a second, because I've lost a very good friend of mine yesterday, who is a Maltese. We're starting then working at a professional level in 1995. Some people maybe were born after. A good friend of mine who is really a key figure in education in the Mediterranean, okay? Professor Ronald Sultana. Technology integration, part and parcel of training. Professional development, okay? Something I've learned, I'm just like Jean Gabin, who said, la seule chose que je sais, c'est que je ne sais pas. The challenges. I think there are, and you know that one thing which is important is which data are we collect when we start this blended learning? When we don't know everything which concerns Algeria, and you have always then to look for another source then to be informed about your own country. Soft skills. Okay, this is another opening. So you see, we are really far from then the per se. Inclusive and diverse education. Okay, so we need then to propose more if we are capable. Lifelong learning, of course. Now, this is something And look at idiosyncrasies when we speak to our students. Not every single student has the same pattern of learning and learning. So learning is maybe a key issue we need then to speak. And of course, stop then learning for the sake of learning. We need to start project-based education and learning. Thanks so much. "29 minutes, 17 seconds. Good luck. هيا ما تقولش باللي ما كاش.
Thank you, Professor, for that very interesting historical, critical overview of Algerian higher education pedagogical trends in relation to the LMD system. And appreciated the way you highlighted the shortcomings, one of which is actually the prospective colliding of LMD and ACLHE. Pointing out the student-centeredness going out of the university premises, inclusive education, educational technology, and also the last part, which to me was the most actually interesting one, that is the analysis of that pedagogical and social context we need to observe for the implementation of now this new reform related to ACLHE. Thank you very much, Professor. And now we move to the second speaker, a friend of ours, Professor Madhubala Baba, who is going to speak to us about the title of her speech is "Are Educators Creating Humanistic Online Learning Environments?" Professor, you're welcome.
هي اللي غادي
How are you doing? Good. The weather is nice and shiny, but I don't see that much of shininess here. So cheer up a little bit. I would like to congratulate the organizing committee Zahira, she's not here and she's as usual running around. Welcome everyone, and I'm glad to be here to share my experiences with all of you, and I look forward to meeting all of you and discussing things further. Right, as you can see, today's conference, let me begin because the timekeeper will be keeping a tab on me. Right. One moment. Okay. That's my topic. Oops. You move it a little bit and it moves. Yeah, okay. All right, okay. So that's my topic. So it really coincides with what Prof. Miliani was talking about on ICT. And my topic is on, are educators, are you guys creating humanistic online learning environment? He talked about blended learning. So what we did was a few of us got together, including Zahira, Prof. Fatiha, and Huda, my ex-PhD student. We worked on a mini research. It's a mini research, which is something perhaps later on you may want to extend it and see to what extent it actually affects your teaching in your field or in your area or even in your school. Right, enter. Okay, so the introduction. So I'm looking at humanistic learning approach. Okay, so when I look at this idea has been actually emerged, introduced by scholars like Erikson, Roger, Maslow, and it began to permeate into the teaching and learning in the early 1970s. The emphasis is on why did they actually move in? Because they were not too happy with their behaviorism. Maybe I should go back and then take it one at a time, yeah? Sorry, I'm not so familiar with this, that's the reason why. Everything's in French. Sorry. Where is the enter sign? This one? Okay. All right, so here you go. No, I should go back. Where do I go back? Back. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Sorry. Still learning your French. All right. So they were not happy in the second one. They were not happy with the psychoanalysis and the behaviorists who talked, and they talked a lot about it being very negative, and they overlooked the cognitive part of it, underestimated the influence of affection, right? And the influence of it on the aspects of being human. So taking this perspective, they looked at learning environment that emphasized emotional values, warmth, empathy, producing positive vibes in a learning environment. And it talks about the fundamental responsibility of a whole person in the process of learning, not just one aspect of mere cognitive or emotional. So you're looking at a whole aspect. Okay. So it talks about interaction. Miliani, you talked about it, yeah? Prof. Miliani talked about interaction in the online environment. So this is where humanistic approach is looking at. Are there or is there interaction that's taking place between the educators and the students on the online environment? What is your take on it? How many of you think there isn't? 1, 2, only? The rest of you? 3? Repeat the question. How many of you think there is no interaction between teachers and students in the online learning environment? Ah, interesting. And the ones who think there is? Ah, minority. Okay. Let's see whether my results show that or not. Okay, interesting. Okay, so we talk about interaction, we assume, right? We talk about a lot about learning, teachers' role as, even in the conventional classroom, we talk about facilitating. We are always facilitating, we scaffold, all right? And we get the students to think, to reflect on themselves, to express their thoughts, creativity, and critical thinking. So these are things, when we do interaction, we are looking at these aspects. And we think, with all, majority of you think that there is no interaction, you presume that this is not happening. Am I right or wrong? Okay. I think we must have slept on the same side of the, woke up on the same side of the bed when we thought about the topic. Okay, because we gel well in this area. So it emphasizes on students' feelings and needs. All right, we look at humanistic educators. Is there humanism in this whole learning environment? We look at how we deliver knowledge, how we foster conducive social and affective environment. Affective, all right? Is that this whole person that we are creating? The psychological safety. We say we create an environment. Is it safe for students psychologically, emotionally? Is it? All right? And we look about self-actualization of needs. Students are open-minded. Are we concerned with this? Personal development, self-acceptance, or accepting others in this online environment. Okay? We want to make students more and more human. Okay? Is this happening? So we look at this author, and he talks about identity building. And he says is dialogical. Dialogical means a lot of talk, right? Reflective, thinking about it, the process that occurs in a social learning environment. We talk a lot, right, when we interact with each other. Even before the conference, the chairperson had to stop everyone. Settle down, because we're all very dialectical. All right? He talks about democratic, okay, being democratic in the world. And he also talks about whether it mediates this presence of humanism in this whole environment. So we did a little research, like I said, and we have 5 main research questions. So we looked at whether humanistic learning types is evident in this environment, whether there's a significant difference in these types, and what are the students' perceptions of these types. Okay, we looked at these 3 in terms of the types, and we looked at whether males and females perceived the types differently, and whether there's a significant difference to this. And we also looked at institutions. So we had some participants that were from the training institutions and versus the students from the university. It's a very small research, okay? And again, we looked at whether there's a difference. It should be between the institutions, postgrad and undergrad, because we had students from these 2 fields, and we looked at that, whether there was any significant difference as well. So basically, we looked at the types, and then the variables were gender, institutions, and the learning levels. The methodology involved, it was, we used an online questionnaire, because this was just after we wanted to get students to respond in an online learning environment. We looked at the background, and these are the 4 learning types: autonomous, reflective, dialogical, and democratic, and it's adapted from 2 different authors. We did a reliability test on the questionnaire that we designed, and with a high Cronbach value of 8.92. So it's a very reliable instrument. Participants, small, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so perhaps if you're interested, you could extend this and do it, use our instruments and try it out with your environment in your school or your across other institutions. So we looked at gender. It's not compatible with my laptop. Okay, sorry. Later you will see that anyway. So we have institutions, small proportion of university students, only 26, and majority were from the trading institute. Okay. So I looked at the levels, postgrad and undergrad, and I don't know which is which now because it's not compatible, sorry. Okay. But I have majority of them are under the UG. So the results based on the findings, this is the first research question. What types of learning, humanistic learning types are evident in the online learning environment? Here you go. All 4 are present. Okay, you have the reflective, you have the dialogical. Obviously the dialogical is slightly lower, and the other 3 are pretty similar. So you find that all 4 learning types are present in your online learning environment. It is. Okay, this is the student's perception. So when I asked you guys, it was the teacher's perspective. So now you're listening it from the student's perspective, and the students say, yes, there is. Lesser for one, relatively the same for the other 3. So when I looked at whether there was a significant difference, no. The one in blue, the 2-tail significant, no significant difference in the 4, even though the value is slightly different, but obviously the students feel that the 4 learning types are present. Okay. And I looked at each of these types, the items that we asked. Okay. So on reflective, the mean is 3.07. You find that students say, yes, I can reflect on my own learning process. Right? You don't realize this. Students do. They can. And it's the highest mean, 3.23. The lowest is I'm involved in meaning making and expressing moral values. So in between you have all the others. I'm not going to read that part of it. Okay? So surprise, surprise, surprise. Reflective learning. And then you have dialogical learning. I can analyze and compare different perspectives. Okay, the students are saying they can do that without you realizing that you are doing it. Right? And the lowest is I analyze the social, cultural, political power relationship. I guess that is depending on the topic, on what you're doing. Okay. I can communicate openly with other students. Close to 3, 2.97. Yeah, so it goes back on how you teachers, how we deliver our lessons. I did online learning, very interactive. You can do it. Democratic learning. I can stand for my own learning, autonomy, critical thinking, and action. 3.66. I'm involved in enlarging humanity, mankind, building democracy. I guess that's in another environment altogether, is low. Autonomous learning. I understand that I am responsible for my own learning. They know. Okay? I carry out self-evaluation, self-monitoring of my own learning as well. If you see all the others, encourage, I'm independent, positive self-image, self-esteem, initiating learning, encouraged to be responsible, appreciated for my talent, not forced to take part in activities I'm not ready for. I express opinion, feelings, and emotions above 3 and above. I choose my own activities. Well, I guess in online learning, the students have to just follow whatever you tell them to do. There's not much option there. But this is present. Students do feel they are going through autonomous learning. They have the autonomy, and actually you have imparted that to them, okay, without realizing it. So I looked at whether females and male students had this different perception, and on this, okay, whether there's a significant difference, on whether there's a different perception. So there you go. You look at the values, there's not much difference. So obviously the male a little bit more than the girls, but they feel that all this learning, sorry, you can't see this here, but at the bottom is all the different types of learning, yeah? It's reflective, democratic. Let me see if you can see it here, yeah. Oh, you still can't see it. Okay. So you find that the male students slightly more than the girls, but it's about the same. It's still above 3. And so since there's slightly more, it will be obvious that there is no significant difference. So all the girls and the boys feel that they have all this learning taking place. Okay. What do you think? What do you think? No? You disagree? You think that the girls are more reflective, more independent, more democratic? Really? You think so? How many of you think so? Ah, no. Are you girls and you think that the boys do better than you? Almost equal. Okay. Yeah, that's why there's no significant difference. Yeah. Okay. Training institutions and universities. So training institutions will refer to your college teacher training. Yeah. Right. And some of the university students. So let's look at what they feel. Training teachers are in orange and the university is in blue. So the difference is only more in dialectical, so where the teachers give them room to talk, right? But in terms of autonomous learning, in terms of democratic learning, and in terms of reflective, it's very close. So it's where maybe, you know, postgrad students, you need to get them to talk more. So I presume that is the reason why at the university it's higher than the schools. I mean, in the training centers, training institute, sorry. So despite slight difference, there's no significant difference. So in the university and in teacher training college, these 4 learning types are still prevalent. Undergraduates and postgraduates. How many of you teach postgraduate students? Okay. Undergraduates, the rest of you are undergraduate students? Okay, what do you think? Which one is more prominent? Reflective? Yes, no? Yes? Can I hear a yes or no? Yes? No? How many of you feel in your institution that undergraduates are in the online learning environment, yeah? Reflective learning takes place among the undergraduates, yes or no? No. Postgraduates? Yes? Okay. Ah, okay. Democratic learning. The freedom to learn. Yes, no? No. Yes.
The question is, have we experienced it?
Have you experienced it?
Completely or partly. And since these institutions are completely attached to the government, this may in a way impede the sense of democracy, the teaching and learning process.
Okay, even though I come from a private university, whether it's private or government, the teaching goes back to the teachers, right? It's back in your hands on whether you make it possible or not. So when you tell me that it is no, not so, so it's back to the ball is back on your court, whether you want to make that present or not, right? Because now you are all teachers, aren't you? Any students here? No. So one student. Ah, we have students. All students here. Okay. So what do you think? Do your teachers give you reflective learning? Do you have reflective learning in your environment, on your online learning? Yes. And your teachers are saying no. No? No? How many of you are students? Okay. Students, stand up. Oh, this is not supposed to be a keynote. I'm doing a workshop kind of thing. Okay, students. Okay, so you have educators, you can turn around and have a look. These are your real students. How many of you feel in the online learning environment that you went through, did you feel there was reflective learning? Yes or no? Yes. Hands up. Okay, so not everyone. Online. Yes, in the online classes. Okay. Do you get my question? Do you want to translate? I've got 5 minutes more. Okay. Okay. Think about it. All right? Think about it. Okay, again, there's not much difference in the postgraduate. All right, I'm going into my discussion here. So my findings, all right? So you guys, teacher's perspective obviously differs from the student's perspective. Okay, so there is a disconnect between what the teachers feel and what the students perceive. Okay, but what is very evident is in this online learning, among the 123 students, a very small case study kind of thing, students are saying, yes, you have created the 4 learning types. You have created humanistic approach in your teaching. You have, without you realizing it. Minimal difference, like you see in terms of mean, but more apparent is democratic learning. Dialogical learning in the overall is lesser. Okay, there is conducive learning. There is transfer of dependency from teacher to student. They feel it. Time to start talking. No significant difference in gender, type of institution, and learning level of study, postgrad and undergrad. Male students found it to be more apparent, probably because female students are, more individualistic, probably less shy, more shy, and may want to look at things not so openly. So you could research on this further. Okay. The institutions, dialogical, like I mentioned, is more apparent. It reflects on the relationship that is fostered. Are you fostering that relationship with your students? It's time for them to harness the power of talk, getting them to stimulate, extending their thinking, and advancing their learning and understanding. Postgraduate students recorded slightly higher mean scores in all these areas. Teachers need to understand the essence of humanistic learning in creating a safe, supportive, non-threatening environment. Students who stood up just now, do you think you have this safe, supportive, non-threatening environment in your online learning? Yes or no? Yes. Teachers, I'm sorry, not many put up their hands. So if you want to take up and adopt humanistic learning environment, then look at this again. Yeah? Imbue student, you talked about student-centered, right? Learning. Hand over the baton. You know what's a baton? When you go for, you do the relay and you pass that baton. Yeah, hand over the baton to the students. Let them take over. Okay? Let them take control of their own learning. The classroom now is student-centered. You talked about student-centered. He talks about creating a student-centeredness. Are we teachers releasing it? Are we teachers letting go of the control? You know the rein in a horse, the rein? Yeah. Are we letting go of the rein? Are we letting or passing it over to the students? Take over. It's your time to learn. It's the work of the teachers in only facilitating, scaffolding. When I supervise my postgrad students, I never give them answers. I give them questions to think. They'll never get answers from me. One question will follow with another question. Okay? That's how I do. Critical thinking. Don't expect spoon feeding. So he talks about no teacher-centeredness.
Professor Baba?
Yeah, I'm done. Facilitating. All right, teachers, 21st environment, create and facilitate in the blended learning environment. Okay, these are the two. And I would like to thank the sponsor, Director of the Institute National de Management. Did I get that correct? He's not here. Please thank him for me for sponsoring my trip. It's a pleasure meeting all of you, and this is my email address. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Bava, for your presentation, for your intriguing findings, and for the unusual keynote talk form. It's funny because we are in the middle of a serious concern involving the 5-year cohort, because they have an online course and they are complaining about the fact that they are not being taken into account.
Okay.
Yeah, their needs are not being taken into account. They are not. They don't have opportunities to ask questions. They don't have the same safe environment they used to. They're used to in traditional classes. Right. This is the only online course they have. Okay. So I was quite flabbergasted when I saw some of them saying it's reflective, it's democratic, it's, while actually we're trying to solve a problem which says exactly the opposite of what they seem to believe. And that's a question also probably that can be discussed in the debate. This is a study that explores students' assumptions and beliefs.
Right.
Does that really conform to reality? I don't know. Many studies, for instance, I'm speaking, from as a teacher of cultural studies, studies on racism, and with respondents who believe they are not racist, findings show that they are, but they are not aware of the fact that they are racist.
Okay.
So I believe that some people believe that their environment, they are reflective students, but actually they are not. Okay. I think maybe there are other tools to measure how reflective, right, democratic, this and that is.
Yeah.
And probably, maybe you don't know the population.
Yeah.
we're not very much involved in online courses.
Correct.
As far as our students are concerned, they have one online course, and that actually is just the maybe just 1 or 2 years, not all the classes. So I think that we really need to have comprehensive data to really form an opinion about what the situation here in the country. Yeah. Thank you very much, Professor. And now we move to the last speaker, last but not least, speaker of our morning plenary session, Professor Rahiel Fatiha. With her presentation, she's been fully involved in this project and this the ACLHE along with Professor Miliani, and she will be addressing this question, and her speech is entitled ACLHE in the light of the cave allegory, an Algerian dream disillusion. Thank you, Professor. The floor is yours.
Are you going to stick it? Anyway. Thank you. Well, first let me start by welcoming our dear guests today here, and I wish that you'll enjoy your stay among us for this 2-day conference for this hot issue. Well, how to start? First, I find it difficult to be placed at the foot of 2 giants, and especially without slides, because of a lack of time, first. But it wasn't that, because I wanted to talk to all of you and share with you one of the greatest experiences ever I got in my professional career, and thank you, Professor Miliani, to have involved me in it, which is being a member of the steering committee with the partnership of Teachers College, Columbia University in New York, and the Algerian Ministry. We embarked on this journey with plenty of perspectives. So I will repeat the title for you, ACLHE, in the light of the cave allegory. I will talk about it. This is an allegory by Plato. An Algerian dream disillusion, because I was in the allegory along with my colleagues and friends, and I think that second-hand outcome is the friendship we developed in this team. And out of the cave, I'm starting getting disillusioned to see what is happening all around universities, Algerian universities, with a good intention to spread the use of the English language for the SMI teachers, subject matter instructors. But the way it's proceeded is for me, it's a failure. To some extent, it's a failure. And we're going to see what other cohorts members are going to experience. We're going to talk with my colleagues and friends who went through the program as I did. Well, let me report for you how it started. In a shiny day, nice day, once upon a time, I received a call from Professor Miliani saying, are you able to take the challenge, and your experience is going to take place in Algeria, that of spreading the use of English for the subject matter instructors, that English is going to be the first language at university for the sake of visibility, scientific visibility, and ranking high with foreign universities. It was a pleasure. At the same time, accompanied with worries, butterflies in my stomach about it. But since Professor Miliani was the leader, so we are acquainted to be, to feel in good hands. Say, nothing to lose, only gains. So let's try it. So the program we started through the phase of planning and assessing, pre-assessment program with TC College, a very nice team, Professor James Purpura, the head of the team,
Professor Donna Brenton, Professor Eric Vox, and again it was Jim, and 2 doctoral students, Brian and Kim, as facilitators for the online programming. Well, the aims, we designed everything together. The aims was to improve, so among the aims, first was to improve English language programming and practices for ESP educators in Algeria. This is how it started. Supporting the ministry in building its long-term reform for English language teaching and learning in general, expanding an ESP curricula, developing an online English language because we felt it a necessity during the COVID time, and pedagogy resource sites. More than that, Mr. Miliani talked and reiterated the idea of facilitating an enhanced program of professional development, and it was missing. All of us started teaching at university at a certain point of time, and we never went, maybe rarely for some, through professional development program. We feel researchers. We do research at the personal level, common level, but professionally developing, it's up to the teacher himself or herself. But having a program planned according to certain standards, mainly high standards, this was missing in Algeria. Teachers at university are left up to themselves to better themselves. This is the complaint we frequently get from high school teachers. You don't have inspectors. You are free. You teach whatever you want. You do it in the way you want. And this is a permanent complaint. And here the professional development program was most welcome for us. And it was integrating the learning-oriented assessments, the LOA practice, across all aspects of the reform. After several exchanges online, some of them also were on site because first the team of TC visited Algeria in February 2020, and we designed together the program acknowledging the importance of developing a principled approach to the English language reform revolving around 7 points. I will mention only 2 or 3 of them, most important. The roadmap for the reform, where all the activities were designed in details. Coordinating program, and this was Professor Miliani, we credit that to Professor Miliani, coordinating program between universities and CUL, the English language or the language centers attached to university, because the gap was getting huge between us. More than that, the most striking element or point was valuing the potential benefits of reimagining the CULs, you correct me please if I'm wrong, as a modern language resource centers capable of delivering state-of-the-art of EFL and ESP instructions, as well as serving community, even outside university, in a number of ways to spread the English language. Like we take them as test centers, like local American corners, adapted American corners, because it was the project between Algeria and the United States. The program is a 3-year professional development program aiming at building local capacity in English language education, done through 3 phases. Phase 1, planning and assessment. It took us 1 year, 1 year and a half, less than 1 year and a half. And we've been working day and night. Hassan, old stories with Professor Hamada Hassan from l'UNS Constantine, especially his feedback were very interesting and up to the point. The second phase, it came to the practicing the professional and professional development training, and betting. So first, I was a member of steering committee. In the second cohort, I decided to join the program in order to see from inside what it is, and I was most encouraged by my friend Hassan. He said, planning and being inside is different. And this is where I get into the cave, because I will attach it to the cave, the allegory of the cave. So inside, so first cohort was made only of ELT, educators, and ESP teachers, instructors. For the second cohort, there was a change. We decided to involve the subject matters instructors. Many of them resisted taking part into the program because they were lacking English language proficiency. So teachers of physics, teachers of biology, IT teachers were motivated because they already used the English language in their training, in their specialty. Physics, biology, management, and different specialties in biology. The most amazing thing is that those teachers performed activities better than we did, English language teachers. They were much more motivated. First, they acquired a certain language proficiency in a short span of time, out of reading articles, out of interacting with ELT instructors, and this preparation of the capstone project helps them a lot. And when we used to meet intimately, prepare work, some of them, I mean, we speak English, French, Arabic. They say, no, please, no Arabic. Let's use English as if we were with Jim and Donna. Please, no Arabic. So believe me, in a span of time of less than 4 months, they became good speakers. They started intervening, and they take the lead in the presentations. We do it all together. They say, please, we want to present the project and not the English language, so that we evaluate. It was self-assessment for them. For the third cohort, news spread all over Algeria about the successful results for the SMI teachers, and they started calling, harassing us, but good, for the good objectives, for the good purpose. Please involve us in the program. We want to be there. But unfortunately, we cannot have that great number of SMIs. There should be, and now we are preparing for the fourth cohort. When it comes to the content of the program, many people think that this program is about teaching language, how to teach language. No, it was not the case. There are 4 modules, 4 mandatory modules. The first one is about, it started like conceptualizing the ICLHE. And Professor Jim Purpura, because each time we had a feedback session with him, 3 each month, 1 month and a half, feedback was frequent at the beginning, that this doesn't fit Algeria, this doesn't fit concept, because he started the program having only standards of Western countries, Western universities. And he realized that this situation is very specific and needs an urgent intervention on changing the content. So the first module, instead of keeping only conceptualizing, we added conceptualizing and contextualizing the ICLHE, so that we put the participants in good environment and they feel it's tailored for them, for the Algerian context and not for the another context. The second module, which is very practical with Professor Donna, current approaches to ICL. Here are the most current, up-to-date approaches to course design. This was very helpful for the SMI teachers, more than the ELT teachers, something new for them. And they realized that a content faculty teacher isn't a language teacher, because first they resisted the program, saying that we want to teach our specialties, not teach language because you want. later they realized that it's only a tool for them and an efficient tool for them. The third module with Professor Eric was context linguistics. It's kind of best practices for the L2 online L2 learning, where some software that were given to us for free to how to teach terminology and how to make use of terminology with very specific information and definition in it. The last one was an introduction to online assessment in different environments, and this was a bit hard for many people. The culmination point is a capstone project for all the cohorts where all the groups are supposed to prepare an overall course using English language with the principles of the learning-oriented assessment approach. The story is nice, isn't it? Yes, very nice. Now we come to the allegory. We are inside the cave. So first, what does it mean, the allegory of the cave? Allegory of the cave is Plato's idea about prisoners who were chained facing only a wall in a cave, and fire cast behind. They didn't know what happens outside the cave. Life is outside the cave and not inside. And there were some people walking on a raised way across the cave, carrying puppets. Lights cast shadows of the puppets on the wall, and the prisoners see only the wall. So they see shadows, and they started interpreting what they see. It's not reality. This is what happened to us. We were in the cave of the ICLHA with TC. Around us, we see only Jim carrying his puppets for us. Jim, Donna, Eric carrying puppets. And we started expecting, dreaming great dreams for the Algerian community, educational community, English and subject matter community. But one of the prisoners was freed, and he went outside. So all the beautiful interpretation of shadows that he realized outside the cave, and this is truth, because the idea is belief versus knowledge. Knowledge is when you practice it. You get knowledge when you practice it outside. So the first experience is that when he got out, the sunlight burned his eyes, first shattering. And he decided to go back to the cave because life was better, though in prison, jail, but it was better. And when he wanted to share the idea with his friends, the other prisoners, that outside, this shadow doesn't really mean what you think, this is it, he couldn't, because he became blind of the sunlight burning his eyes. So this is what happened to me when I came out. And last time Rani asked me, what's the program? Do you remember in pedagogical committee? Fatiha, what's the program about? I couldn't explain. If you know, I told you, it's about nonsense. It's like absurd. It's like absurd. When you go to watch a play, an absurd play, and you get out of theater, what's the play about? It's plotless and it's nonsense. You cannot tell it. The same thing, what is happening nowadays, and we have here a member of the National Committee, Pedagogical Committee of Spreading English Language, all this long story, who herself is disillusioned and doesn't believe what is happening. They start teaching teachers the CEFR framework, A1, A2. Old staff in the ministry and the new staff of the ministry. because people who started the project didn't transmit, maybe we cannot blame anybody for that, but we are still struggling for giving back to the ICLHE project, how it started, with all its surrounding expectations, its right place in the Algerian universities first, and creating the link between university and CUN. From time to time, Professor Miliani calls me to say, well, it's the end, it's the last episode, I'm going to stop. 2-3 days later, hello, Fatiha, good morning. Well, you know, I got Jim on phone, and we decided to do that and that and that and that. It means like it's a virus that you cannot get cured for. Here, I see nice faces, nice people who were part of the first cohort and second cohort. I would like to listen, to hear about your reflections, to maybe it will be healing for me if you tell me that, Fatiha, you are wrong. Still, expectations are great, and this is disillusionment. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Faycal. Thank you very much. And وشاهد شاهد من أهلها.
Definitely.
Thank you for your courage to be a prophet supposed to spread the message, yet you criticize it. So it requires courage. Thank you very much, and it's all grist to the mill of those who actually, like myself, don't believe in this, the applicability as a...
Sorry, and that's why I refuse being the member of the new committee.
Yeah.
For that.
And actually, I would be interested in hearing you in the debate, telling us a word about whether you had that feedback given to the ministry, and what authority, what scope you have as a committee to tell these truths to the shareholders and decision makers. Thank you very much. Now it's time for debate. We'll take a few questions. Start with first 3 questions and then move on according to the time allotted to this last part of the plenary session. Thank you. So, questions? Yes, madam? 1, 2, all right, and 3. Okay, first 3 questions. Go ahead. So be brief, please be brief. Give your question. Yeah, and
I have a question.
Please introduce yourself.
Thanks to all of you. I am Khadija bin Sadiq, lecturer at the Higher School of Biology. Okay. I have a question for the last intervention about the last intervention, please. We are curious to know what is the fracture that's stopping you from practicing this great magic, more or less magic method, because all of us were starting to be engaged within this practice, and now your disillusion is inhibiting us in some ways. So we want to know whether we can adapt ourselves through these fractures, or whether it is
lost cause. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Of Mostaganem. I'd like to thank Professor Nasrullah for your insightful presentation. I really agree with you on the fact that the humanistic aspect is disregarded in an online classroom. So my question is, what teaching approaches can a teacher apply in order to ensure this humanistic touch in an online platform.
Thank you. There was a lady, yeah.
It wasn't working, by the way. I used my okay.
Yeah. Please keep it as close as possible to your mouth.
Okay. Yeah. So first of all, I'd like to thank you for.
Both.
Yeah. Okay, like this. Yeah, I'm going to lose my ideas.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'd like to thank you for organizing this event. Well, my question is directed to the Professor Qaid for because they are responsible, and she's member of the steering committee of the ICLHE, and I say that I belong to. I was really amazed. You make me really dream about a kind of a capstone, okay, a virtual capstone right now, when you have summarized all what we went through. Indeed, at the beginning, I was really impressed of the program. I was very interested, especially it has to do with ESP, etc., which is my cup of tea. And I have seen, I'm teaching the theory, I mean, didactics of teaching ESP are at the level of my university, and practically speaking, I have seen the application of ESP in this program. Because, for example, we say that there should be collaboration between ESP teacher and the specialist, but we have never went through such a thing, yeah. And we believe in the, again, theory of Scrivener when they say, you know about English, they know about the topic, put them together, you have the potential of an exciting session. And indeed, what we have seen this is with the collaboration of SMI. So we say, practically speaking, I can see collaboration between SMIs and language teachers. Really interesting to bridge theory and practice. I was just discussing this morning with my colleagues who are also in cohort 3, saying, okay, we are about the end. This is the last module, the last project. But what for? I mean, we should do something. And this is our mentor, Lila, always says that we are building a community of practice. So I want to conduct something out of this project. I want to say that I belong to cohort 3, etc. I want to share it in practice. Therefore, I would invite cohort 1, cohort 2, and cohort 3 to collaborate together and make out of it something practical. Means organizing some training workshops for the others who didn't have the opportunity to belong to such cohort. I mean, this is one of the good outcomes, not to keep it just in theory, that as Professor Qaid remains as a story. Want it to be as practice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Professor Qaid, the first question was directed to you.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Deuxième groupe. On va répondre d'abord aux 3 premières questions, ensuite. Yeah.
Well,
just speak up. Just speak up.
No?
I think it works.
Ça marche? Ah, okay, anyway. Well, for the fracture, madam, you know, the fracture is multi-layered. You know, I'm good at open spaces and amphitheaters. When my voice can reach, yes, can reach. Well, for the fracture, it is multi-layered. First, as Wafa has just intervened about, is that there is a kind of fracture between theory and practice. We got the theory, and we practiced it at a very tiny level inside the program, within the participants of the program. But when we wanted to spread it all over through workshops, we discovered that a parallel program designed by the new staff at the ministry, which is getting or trying to get the same aims, but different, and is quite fake, because it's not leading. All teachers who started participating in the program designed by the ministry are leaving it one after the other, and they say that they learn nothing from it, and it's not beneficial for them. At least for the personal level, no language proficiency is gained, so not to speak about the professional developments concerning the specialty they teach. Second, it is the idea that we should put together an English language teacher with a subject matter instructor in order to bring about good results. For example, in our case, since we finished the program, the SMI teachers disappears. You see? So that's why responsibility is shared, and we struggle for making it echoing all over the academic communities. But I think that one of the best resolutions is Lila's idea of community of practice. It means out of the 3 cohorts, don't stay separated, divided, rather together and create a program. What we are also doing, Mr. Miliani isn't yet put into the know, is that we are collaborating with the ESL network of the American Embassy for creating a branch for higher education in order to practice the results of the ICLHE program partnership between Algeria and TC College. So this is what should come up later.
Thank you.
This is the fracture. Thank you so much.
Professor
But it doesn't function. It doesn't work.
I think it does. It doesn't? Please.
Maybe he could respond.
Please, where is the mic? The mic.
For you?
Yeah, for madam. Thank you.
I think
yeah. Keep it close, yeah. It has to be, yeah. Right.
Okay, it comes together. All right, thank you for the question. Obviously, you are intrigued with it, the humanistic learning, the human part of it. Looking at practical, I'm going to be short as well, practical approaches that you could indulge in and carry out. Although people may say it's an online learning environment, is it possible? Yes, it is. Right? It's a matter of how you organize and coordinate and get your students to work. Possible activities could be task-based learning, right? You're familiar with that. Product-based learning, right? Problem-based learning, all right? And another one is where they actually work towards collaborative and cooperative learning. And this is where you have handed over the rein to the students. You merely facilitate, provide the environment, provide the task, hand over. And that's where you will see them actually become critical. Okay? All right. I'm going to keep it short because he will tell me.
Thank you. Professor?
Thank you. Well, I wish to go back to the first person who is not with us. Hello.
Madam? Madam?
It's for you. Right. Just what I... Okay, once again. By saying what's this magic method? What did I say this morning? Be careful of the magic wand. It's not a magic wand. Okay, and I think somebody said it before me in the 70s or 80s. Plato, no methodologist has the whole answer. Finished. Right. I wish then to go back then to concerning then the program ICLHE. Can I remind my colleagues, those who have gone through it, okay, that it took 6 months. Okay, so we had over Zoom, okay, 6-month preparation. We did then prepare the context because remember, and Professor Aibeche has said it, it's a problem of contextualizing, okay, because you can bring anything you want from elsewhere if you don't contextualize, and it did take us some time. Plus, because you had the conceptual framework, then you had also the domain analysis. And something like 200 teachers responded then to a questionnaire. And our colleagues from TC then went through it, and you must see it. It's wonderful, the responses. Okay? And one thing you said about, and you said, I'm going to quote you, you said, we should do something. But of course, it was in the cards, okay, that we were going then to do something about it. The previous minister spoke with me over the phone and he said, okay, what can we do? I said, we're going then to draw up, well, I'm going to say it according then to the word, okay? Une feuille de route, a roadmap. The roadmap exists. It's with the ministry, but of course we don't have the same people now, and of course they don't know what it is. Okay, we were expecting then the ministry to help us work at the regional conferences, okay, in order then to disseminate the information, train people, okay, and Professor Rahiel told you that, and I said it to the ministry in one of the reports I wrote to them, that they had to look at the work achieved by my colleagues. And there was such a strong, and you know it, collaboration between the language teachers, the teacher trainers, and the SMI, subject matter specialists, okay, who did work together. And you need, it's a pity Professor Rahiel did not bring a case. I wish she would have brought one, just to give you an idea how these colleagues, it was groups of 4 or 5, and they have worked on how to draw up a lesson, okay, in certain specialities which I won't know a thing about, okay, but it was such an achievement that I had to then to tell the ministry about it. But of course, who cares? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just to support the point that this is very common in Algeria, that is that incapacity to transform individual initiative or group initiative into a larger one, that is institutionalized practices. And when you say community of practices, often we've had with Lancet many projects that part of international collaboration, what we call FSP, the Fonds Solidarité Propriétaire. And we worked with Professor Hamada on some of these projects, and that were supposed actually to be spread all over the country, spread the practices, the good practices. They end up actually, the community of practices end up to be actually like a cult, an insect, to the best, if not an individual, just individual self-development for teachers. It's good. That's the problem in the country. We're going to take a series of three questions. First, Dr. Ashab, for French department. 2, 3, right, and then we'll see the next. Okay.
Passer par un apprentissage, peut-être de stratégie, ou alors est-ce qu'on doit faire juste un effort personnel pour pouvoir changer tout ce que le LMD nous demande de faire, c'est-à-dire tous ces changements, notamment un des piliers de l'action en place. Merci.
Merci. Allez-y. Dr. Baghli.
Well, good morning. You hear me? Okay. I'm Dr. Talib Barli from University of Oran 2, Faculty of Foreign Languages. First of all, good morning and welcome to our guests. And thank you for your interest in presentations. I would like just to make a remark, okay? First, I was impressed listening to my colleague, all the work you have accomplished. I didn't know it. So really, congratulations, and really, I encourage accomplished and very, very interesting work. Second, the remark is that for the English teachers themselves, for those who are supposed to teach ESP at our university, our department, I think they are not enough able to teach all specialties. For example, we have a master which is supposed to teach ESP, to teach. Well, I didn't do it in purpose, but so to teach ESP, but the reality is that sometimes they are obliged to colleagues who come and teach specialties in French and not in English. So I think it's better to start by taking into consideration English teachers in ESP before thinking about the other. Because if we want to use English language in the future, we have to think about the future, okay? We have to have good teachers in ESP in the Faculty of Foreign Language and English teachers first. Right? I have another question, if you allow me.
Quickly,
this is
please.
Professor.
Yeah.
Is it possible?
Quickly.
Quickly. Okay, I'm sorry. Just a question. The work or your research, was it based on students of English language or technical specialties?
It was open to English students.
Okay, because I have seen about gender. And what is happening in Algeria is that girls are much more motivated than girls in language.
This study is in Algeria.
Ah, in Algeria.
Algerian, yeah,
okay.
It's Algerian students.
What we notice is that girls are much more interested and motivated than boys.
Yeah,
That's
but
it.
unfortunately, your study shows otherwise.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.
That's what we feel, yeah? That's how we think it is. Yeah, yeah. It contradicts to what we assume. Yes.
Well, Dr. Rahiel from École Normale Supérieure of Oran. Thank you, keynote speakers, for the valuable presentations. My question is to Professor Miliani. I drew on your expertise and knowledge of the Algerian context, the educational context. This ICLHA content and language, we already have some kind of expertise with ESP teachers. Now, what models, after two capstones, I guess, what model do you believe is, since we're speaking about applicability, is applicable to the Algerian context?
Thank you, Uftay. Lady, please. So please, briefly, because we have the last series of questions before we...
Thanks so much. Je vais revenir à notre collègue du département de français. Vous savez, quand on me dit tutorat, j'ai comme une éruption cutanée, parce qu'on en a fait une loi. Il y a eu même un texte portant sur le tutorat. J'ai bénéficié du tutorat en Grande-Bretagne. Il suffisait de quoi? Il n'y avait pas de texte. Il y avait une pratique. La pratique, c'était que d'abord l'enseignant est un bureau. Je n'ai jamais eu de bureau à l'université d'Oran. D'accord? Ce qui Ce dont il s'agissait, c'est d'avoir un rendez-vous avec votre prof dans son bureau. Vous avez un quart d'heure et vous posez toutes les questions que vous voulez. Là, on en a fait une montagne. Pour après ne plus savoir qui doit tutorer qui, à partir de quelle année, ça a été un drôle de mélo. Donc, je préfère ne pas aller dans ce sens. Maintenant, effectivement, la question de mentalité, je crois que Samadou vous a donné déjà une idée, c'est cette absence d'humanisme de notre part. C'est-à-dire qu'on traite les gens comme des statistiques. C'est un peu comme les Palestiniens vis-à-vis de l'étranger. D'accord? Il y a tant de morts, il y a tant de blessés. Là. Nous aussi, là, il y a cette année, d'ailleurs, aberration suprême, quand vous êtes dans le master et que vous avez un groupe d'étudiants de 100 plus étudiants, on n'est plus dans le master et on ne peut pas faire du tutorat. D'accord? Donc il y a quelque chose qui manque. Madame Al-Bari, vous aviez dit, personne ne vous a demandé d'enseigner les ISP. D'accord? Toutes les spécialités, non. Moi, je veux dire, ma thèse, c'était sur l'économie, l'enseignement de l'anglais en économie. Donc il y a un contexte, il n'y en a pas 20. Donc je crois que c'est la première des choses qu'il faut peut-être voir. Maintenant, je crois qu'effectivement, on ne s'est pas penché assez sur l'enseignement, ce qu'à l'époque, quand j'étais tout juste novice dans l'enseignement, à l'époque, je suis obligé de dire aussi ce nom, parce que c'est une référence. Yeah, well, non, c'est parce que la personne dont je vais parler, c'est professeur... je dis professeur, hein? Professor Beriksi Kamel. Professor Beriksi Kamel was then the dean of faculty. He was even my teacher. And at that time, then, he decided on organizing what they called l'enseignement extramural. And I was head of this department. Let me tell you, it's the biggest demand at university level. It's not the English department, because it's a question of hundreds, if not thousands, whereas we don't have that many. But hey, I just wish then to say something about ESP. Now, you know that the first thesis in ESP was written by somebody whose name is Mohamed. Let me tell you something. There's quite a change, qualitative change between what we used to do and say in those years. Okay, I submitted my PhD thesis in January '85, so it makes me young. But the thing is, what ACLHE, okay, proposes today, it's to speak on behalf of all specialties, okay, not just English. And let me tell you, I've learned a lot. And Professor, then I told you that, okay, in contact with those who came from different horizons. When you have génie mécanique, when you have informatique, and people who do not share the same kind of competences in language, but they know so much in their own specialty, then there's quite a thing then to learn from them, okay? I think we need then to change. ESP is dépassé. Let's go then towards then ICLHE, because it's the question of higher education and not just the Department of English. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bon, je vais ajouter juste un point pour mon amie, Madame Taleb. Justement, le programme au début était conçu pour les enseignants ESP, for the ESP practitioners only. C'est pour ça qu'au lancement du deuxième groupe, la deuxième promotion, cohort, on a décidé d'impliquer les enseignants spécialistes dans les matières autres que l'anglais, et pour voir, c'était une expérience à considérer, et les résultats étaient très impressionnants. C'est pour ça qu'on a déduit qu'en travaillant en collaboration, un enseignant d'ISP ne peut pas enseigner toutes les spécialités parce qu'il n'est pas censé enseigner la spécialité, mais juste la langue. Et en étant appauvri en matière de contenu, il n'enseigne que la grammaire
Ils enseignent la grammaire, ils prennent des textes par-ci par-là, à enseigner en biologie, ils sont comme des abeilles en train de faire le détour un peu partout. Mais lorsque la collaboration existe entre le ESP teacher et l'enseignant de contenu de spécialité, là, le résultat est impressionnant. Et c'est ressenti. Donc, il y a même il y a un macro development, il y a un micro development. Macro, c'est le général, et micro, pour le SMI teacher, il se développe en matière de développement d'anglais, de la langue, donc outil. Merci.
All right, the last series of questions. Yes, sir, sir, and madam.
Shall I take this too? Together. Assalamu alaikum. Youcef Zawani from the University of Benghazi, Libya. Thank you for the nice presentation for all the presenters.
Benghazi, Libya.
Benghazi, Libya, yes. Just I want to add a comment for the Dr. Manaya. Yeah, about the comparison.
Professor Madu?
Yeah, about the comparison between the reflective learning between the grad and undergrad students. Based on my experience in teaching both grad and undergrad, I see that the comparisons are completely unfair because of the number of the students. You know that for the grad students, the number might be maybe 5 up to 10, sometimes 12, whereas the number of the undergrad might exceed maybe sometimes 100 in one class. So it's difficult for me as a teacher to ask students to reflect or to say their opinion or to even to add a note. Imagine that if a student talks for a minute, so maybe even if we have 60 students, so 1 hour might not be enough for them, whereas for the postgrad or grad, let's say that the number, even I know their names and that they try to show themselves, so I see that the comparison is totally unfair. Unless there's something else that's here in Algeria, I didn't know whether the number of the grad students equals to the number of the undergrad or not. I have no idea about this. Thank you very much for the nice presentation too. Thank you very much.
Sir, Miss, please.
Good morning, everybody. Do you hear me? Good morning, everybody. Well, middle school inspector. First of all, I want to say this verse. Water everywhere, not any drop to drink. Water everywhere, not any drop to drink. Our students tend to learn more and more about less and less. But we have to ask the question, did you teach me how to integrate? Did you teach me how to think critically? So you always consider me as a recipient and not as a partner. Please involve me to learn. I have got a burning question. So we've got competent teachers, competent students. Maybe you demotivated me because I haven't seen any flexibility. I haven't seen any variety. And you didn't give me a chance, an opportunity to take part in my learning. Please, involve me. I have got a burning question. It's a burning question. Why do our Algerian students succeed abroad? And thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam, last question. Yeah, it's another comment. You can comment on if you wish. Yeah.
Thank you. So it's Professor Nassima Qaid from the University of Sidi Bel Abbas. My question is directed to Professor Miliani and Professor Fatiha Qaid. So you've been talking about a break and the lack of dissemination of information, and I think that this comes from the ministry itself, because when the minister issued the ministerial decision 1433, so he clearly stated that in order to integrate or to use English as the new medium of instruction in delivering content in the different disciplinary domains, the teachers should achieve at least a B2 or a C1 level. And as being a member of the National Commission for the implementation and the supervision of the English training courses, we have visited different universities and to see how the training was going on. By trying to explain that what is being done in reality does not meet the real expectations of the ministry, because the English teacher or the language centers who were supposed to cover the English training didn't themselves understand the meaning and the expectations of the ministry, and they started making English placement tasks and dividing the teachers into A1, A2, B1, and B2, and teaching them just basic and general English, which is not really what is asked for these English content teachers. But when we try to explain that to teachers throughout our different visits, saying that what you are doing is wrong, what you are doing is not the best way to deal with that, and that teachers are supposed to learn English for the teaching purpose, how to use it in order to deliver scientific and other disciplinary contents. But here, I think that we need to think about I think this is a major problem, is how to deal with and how to convince teachers that shifting to English is good for them, and how to deal with teachers' resistance, because they clearly say, I don't want to use English in my classroom. So what do you think about that?
Thank you, madam. Miss, please. Go ahead. Be brief, please.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for this remark. And again, it's a worry indeed. It's a worry indeed. First, as I've explained, that the problem is multi-layered, because when it comes to the newly appointed commissions who are supposed to be supervisors of the implementation of the program, themselves, they don't any training about what to implement first and how to implement it. So how does it come that you have nothing in your hands and you want to give it away? No way. Second, teachers, the institution which is supposed or which is appointed by the ministry to carry out this task are the CUL. All what the CUL can do now, except the CUL managers who were part of the ICLHT program, I think they are doing it, but in a very limited way, because they are still teaching the CFR program or framework A1, A2, B1, B2. The rush of teachers on the tests organized by the language centers was only according or following the mandatory, obligatory instruction of the ministry. It's not a matter of willingful attitude towards it. And when they reached, many of them started leaving, evading the program because nothing was given to them. And this is the summary of the experience. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry. All right. Sorry, I didn't really hear your question, but let me summarize. I presume you're talking about class size with regards to how far we can implement humanistic learning approach in class size, right? You're right in saying that usually the undergraduate class size is bigger than the postgrad, but there is also postgrad student in your situation where the numbers are small, but we have research methodology subjects where a lot of students take the course as well. So there the class size is also equal. There again, remember this is an online learning environment. You are not in front of 100 students. And even if it's 100 students, I have taught 200 students in a lecture hall and made it interactive. I've got my students moving around this whole room. It's a matter of organizing your delivery in making it task-based, activity-based, where again, you give it back to the students to do the planning and the thinking. You only facilitate. It's possible. We use Teams. I do not know what platforms you use here, but we have what we call Teams, T-E-A-M-S platform, where you can actually have breakup rooms. I don't know your platform here, but you can actually have breakup rooms and get the students to organize, think, discuss, and plan. So I'm not sure whether it's possible here, yeah, with you. But it is possible. Class size shouldn't be a deterrent. The interaction can be made possible with smaller groups broken up, and then they do the presentation. There are many interesting ways of doing it, and it's possible. I can't talk much here now, but we can talk about it. Yours is more of a comment, right? Students are shouting out, "Give me the rain." Aren't you saying that? Your comment, right? The person at the back.
Right. Professor Qaid, one of the key issues then when you're dealing with education, you have to speak then the language of coherence, which means then lending part of your power to who has the power, i.e. the teachers, okay? How often do we listen then to teachers? You're talking about an experience, I to comment on it, but there are three levels, and you know that. The macro, the meso, and the micro levels, okay? When we undertake research, from both sides, okay, we don't see eye to eye on the kinds of findings. If you ask somebody who teaches, then you will listen then to reality. If you wait for the top-down decision makers, they are far away, and very often they are just miming what's happening elsewhere, okay? Not all what you suggest top-down will be coherent with the realities of. And one thing which you raised, it's teacher development. You know, it started in 2016 that the newly recruited teachers are going through a year of training. One thing I wished they would develop, it's pedagogy, and start forgetting about then the nonsensical text about this and that, okay? Go to the heart of the matter. What concerns a newly appointed teacher, is how to go about facing the other, and Professor Madhu gave you part of the answer, because it's not simply to be humane. Now, because there's the reality whether we have the competence or not. How often are we likely then to wait for inspectors? At one stage, we shouted, we didn't want them to see inspectors at higher level. It's high time we did, okay? Because when you see what's happening, I told you, the implementation of LMD has never been what it was supposed to be. I am the product of the LMD. And let me tell you one thing. The L I did in Algeria, and that's why I mentioned then Dr. Beriksi Kamel, okay? the license we used to have, then you have no compensation, the prerequisite. Some people didn't have their license because of the module in Arabic, not in English, in Arabic. So you see how far we have traveled, and now it's compensation, whichever way you want. Compensate here, compensate there, and the level, no need to talk about it.
It's not compensated. Thank you very much. Thank you to the speakers, and thank you to the participants, to the audience. Thank you for the questions. Now we're going to have a break. Please follow the Need Help ladies dressed in yellow shirts, and we'll be back in the workshops, and you will have them help you get. Yeah, Thursday. Yeah, Thursday we're welcoming two Algerian writers here. So you're welcome to attend. It's Thursday morning. Right. Thank you very much.
Merci. Merci à toi. Ça ira qui barra. Là, on a barra, donc il n'y a pas de problème.